Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where we go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Rose Jordan, the CEO of Fortitude Strategic Wealth. How are you doing today, Rose?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Well, thank you for coming on.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
So let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey and what made you start your own business, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today as the CEO of Fortitude Strategic Wealth.
Yes, so about 5 years ago, I had a 10 plus year career in luxury brand management. So I worked across luxury brands in New York City in the fashion space, just managing different brand deployments, installations, merchandising, buying, planning, anything you can imagine. So in 2020, I actually founded my own company called Jordan Marketing, which was a full-scale social media marketing agency while, most of us were laid off from our 9-to-5 gigs. I did it as kind of a side quest, not knowing where it was going to go. It led into a much huger realm of things that I've created since then. So I actually sit as the COO of Fortitude Strategic Wealth. I'm the CEO of Jordan Marketing. So I hold two different C-suite roles, if you will, and then serve on multiple boards as a marketing and AI sales automation specialist. So Fortitude is actually an interesting one. Years ago, I had a different side quest in the insurance industry, met someone who was technically a competitor. We were both running two different agencies selling the same product. We kept in touch over the years. And just after I started Jordan Marketing, probably a year or two in, he had reached out to me and said, hey, I really want to start this wealth management company. My experience is 20 years in insurance, finance, and planning. I really don't know how to get it off the ground in a marketing, sales, and this was pre even us thinking of automations. Now almost the entire company is automated. But so we came together on that and scaled Fortitude to what it is now. There's over 100 team members in 10 different countries right now on the team. We're obviously US based, but we have people all over the world that work for us, and we've built a lot of that out. But yeah, it all started from me starting my own marketing agency, which had kind of scaled into this.
So do you still run Jordan Marketing and Fortitude sort of side by side?
I do, yes. So the way I actually map out for it to work for me is Jordan Marketing runs pretty much from like 5 a.m. till like 1 p.m. And then I spend the second half of my day focused on Fortitude, because if I don't separate it out, it just becomes like a juggling game all day long.
That's a lot of work to run in two companies like that. So you're the CEO of Jordan Marketing and the COO of Fortitude. Do you find like the working running Jordan Marketing has sort of allowed you then to be the CEO of Fortitude much better from that experience?
Yeah, those first 2 years for Jordan Marketing for me were a lot of trial and error. I was a one-man show for the first 18 months of it, so I was managing anything from a small business to public corporations on their socials. This was a little bit before AI, but we were still, we were dabbling in it at that time. I wouldn't say we were automated, but we were using AI. A lot of it taught me my business skills. I mean, I had owned businesses prior, but I had never truly owned agencies that were fully, running and had team members and had people sitting in different places all over the world. So Jordan Marketing definitely prepared me for the role at Fortitude, but it's kind of gotten to a point now where they kind of just run in I always say it's like two trains going in the same direction next to each other. Like we keep the same pace, we kind of help each other out, and we follow the same signals.
No, definitely. So in Fortitude, are you running like all the marketing side of all of that, and then someone else helping you?
I run full-scale marketing, automations, HR, and people development over there.
So what does your role look like in both these on like a day-to-day? Obviously we know your times, but what's your normal day-to-day role in both of these?
So it depends on the day. I'm a very structured person, so I schedule out my weekdays for specific things. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm always filming in the morning, whether it's for Fortitude or Jordan Marketing, and whether it's our content or content we're working on with a partner. So I keep my Tuesdays and Thursdays for filming. Monday is sort of an admin day. So if we're working on any new builds, we tend to have some sort of meeting with the team. We operate, and this was something I learned very early on in my entrepreneurial journey. We operate where we don't take any calls during what we call green hours. So we do not talk internally from 9 to 5 p.m. on, New York East Coast time, because that time we need to spend building outreach, follow up, anything like that. So we call that our green hours. We meet as a team at either 6 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night, so we could have those hours. So we meet on Mondays. I personally focus on new builds, new development. I go through all the CRMs, all the data from the prior week, look at the KPIs, see if anything needs challenging or adjustment for the week going forward, send out sales reports. And then Wednesdays and Fridays, it kind of always depends. It could be anything, but it's always very sales focused. So I don't do any of the selling personally for the team, but if the automations and the, databases and stuff that I've built, if they have any error or have any issue that we need to focus on, I'll spend my time on Wednesdays and Thursdays kind of implementing that.
I can see running these two businesses, you need structure.
Yes.
Otherwise you would fall under.
Yes, and I'll get calls of like, can you film on Wednesday? And I'm like, no, I will not deviate from my own calendar at this point, because I know it not only benefits me, but it benefits everybody on both teams.
You need to keep everything in line, like it's not just for you.
Yes.
Otherwise the whole ship will start rocking.
Yeah, literally. Literally.
So what are the biggest trends that you're seeing inside the market, both markets, let's go with?
So I would say attaining clients, or I don't want to say attaining clients, but advertising as the base. And then from there, it becoming an automated process until there needs to be human touch to close the sale. So for me at Jordan Marketing, I will say the automation's slightly easier, because people signing up for marketing or even AI at this point, they don't need as much hand holding. They know what they want. They just want to make sure you're the right person, right? So they'll fill out an ad, they'll inquire, they'll go through the whole process. I do believe most consumers still don't fully capacitate how much AI is working in the background. Like they're getting a text message on their iPhone and they think that's me texting them, right? And it's not to be deceitful or anything. I just think a lot of people don't know it's how it works yet. But when I always say the way we've built our implementations is pretty much a 5-step process, and steps 1 through 4 don't involve us, other than, maintaining our databases, looking up that there's no errors, stuff like that. So at point 5, they meet me and they feel like they already know me when they're on the phone, because we've been texting, we've been emailing, but that's all our implementation working in the background. With Fortitude, it's a little trickier, because you're selling people financial products, you're selling people wealth management, tax planning, tax strategy, and people don't play about their money, right? So they similarly don't fully understand it's not us until the 5th call, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a 1-call close still, which is our optimal goal over there. Because on a lead flow basis, we can get 20 to 50 leads a day. So obviously doing a one-on-one 1-hour call with each person becomes extremely time consuming. So we're trying to eliminate that process a little bit more, but it's tricky figuring out what that looks like. And then we also have, financial and government laws that we have to be sure to be compliant and do our due diligence and have full governance in. So I will say on that end, it's a little trickier. For Jordan Marketing, some of the companies that that we work with, they are mostly sales or product-based businesses. So building out implementations for them is extremely easy. I wouldn't say it's copy and paste, because every industry is different, but we have a good flow and it's easy to create a completely new system for them now. But the hardest industry I have found is always financial services, because there's a lot of trust you have to build, and, people have to know, like, and trust you to give you their money. So a lot of that, while it is still being automated, requires a lot of human.
I think that's naturally how it would go, isn't it? If somebody's it's a lot more of a technically trickier thing to navigate, wealth management, as opposed to just running marketing. But do you think running your marketing company, Jordan Marketing, has definitely stood you in such good stead? Because if you hadn't been doing, a lot of people who run marketing agencies find that thing tricky, but because obviously you're doing something that's even harder, it kind of, that you think, like you just said, then, it's much more easier doing this than that. But I feel like having that another sector that is more difficult is obviously broadens broadening your skills and sharpening your tools basically for now that obviously you're feeling the Jordan marketing, that the implementation of your systems on that, you find it a lot easier.
Yeah, it's interesting because I would say when I started, I mean, I technically worked in marketing for 15 plus years of my career. And I think when we went to school for marketing, or when marketing, when people started creating these agencies a little bit before COVID and then social media blew up, I think marketing was always kind of viewed as more of like an art than a science, right? Because it's not formula based. It's not like, okay, this worked here, so it'll work here. There's a lot of creativity that has to come in. And since I call the AI boom 22 to 23, I find that everybody has a different opinion of when it really boomed. I feel like 22, 23, it was starting to be everywhere. And this has been the year where the implementation has really taken place. But it's kind of at a point where I think it's, in my opinion, extremely hard to be a marketer if you don't understand data science and you don't understand tech stacks and you don't understand, AI implementation. And I've seen a lot of friends that I've known over the years that have been successful at marketing that are kind of like hitting a rock wall right now because they are like, I don't understand tech. I don't understand AI. I don't understand, how to code or how to do any of these things. And without those skills, it's actually very hard to be a marketer.
The landscape's definitely changed 100%. It's such a big shift now that it's almost like people that are saying that, I don't understand tech. It's very similar to when like social media came around and then people were like, I don't understand this. But you can have that sort of look out to it, but you're going to need to understand it because that's where the whole thing is going. So it's no good just saying I can't. You need to get with the program a little bit, but don't see it changing. Now everybody's had a taste of it, especially.
Yes.
Can you imagine like if AI was just taken away from us right now and all automations went away, like
No, I actually couldn't.
Nobody would want to go back to that. Do you know what I mean? So it's definitely only going one way, I would say, 100%. But yeah, the landscape, I feel, across multiple industries, but especially in digital industries which are mainly focused on the net, creative things online, things like that. And strategies has definitely changed the game, and people need to change with it. Basically, you need to go with the flow, I would say.
Yeah, I think I always push at least the members on my team. A lot of people have gone to school and gotten marketing degrees or computer science degrees, and I don't want to say I'm anti-college, but I'm not very pro-college personally in today's digital age, because I went to school and studied marketing 15 years ago. They didn't even teach digital marketing then. So you pay a lot of money for and I always tell people YouTube is free. Just go on YouTube and learn something. Set a goal every day. Do it here. A year ago, I had a great understanding of AI. I was using Zapier to do tons of different things. And I felt it in my bones that those services were going to go up tremendously in cost as more people found out about them and they became more normalized. I think it was about a year ago, it was around December last year, I was like, I have to learn N8N. I have to learn how to build automations from scratch because these tech stacks are going to outprice us at a certain point. And I build probably 4 to 5 N8N templates a day sometimes because I just went online. I learned how to do it. I set a goal every week, spend 3 hours on learning this or spend 2 hours on learning this. And I think that, there's a resistance from certain people, but I do think that the people that aren't resisting it are going to be the ones that will be successful in the next 10 years.
Skill now in today's age, being able to build workflows, implement workflows yourself, because when you can't do them yourself and then you need to find the right person, and it might take time to get that right person in, or they might be doing something else, whereas if you can do it, you can get on with it right there, right then.
Exactly.
So, Rose, what is working well at Fortitude and at Jordan Marketing, and where do you still feel slight frictions?
Well, I would say the slight frictions is pretty much what I said earlier. Financial services is always going to be harder for AI and for data. But for Jordan Marketing, I would say it's very hard in this industry to hire and develop people, because once they learn the skills, they kind of just want to go out and do it on their own and make their own money. And I knock people for that. I tell people when they come to me, like, I hope you learn so much you go leave and start your own agency. Like, that's fantastic. That means I'm good at teaching. It's hard to attract and retain talent at this point in the game in-house, I would say. Other than that, the one thing I will say is it's been 2 years since I fully implemented AI into Jordan Marketing. We're a little over a year in at Fortitude. I really wanted to on my own behalf, execute it for my company for a standing period of time before bringing it into another company. But I think when I started, I do think that I thought I would get a ton of time back. I remember thinking like, oh, if I wasn't going through Facebook and managing the leads and getting them into a CRM and making sure the team follows up and that whole process. And what I've learned is that you actually don't get a ton of time back. You just have more capacity to take on more work. So I guess, yeah, if you weren't, ambitious or hungry, you could set it up for a company or two and then say like, I'm good. I'm going to, go on a 10-day vacation to Bali. But that's personally not my mindset. So I think I thought I was going to be like the 4-hour workday person. Like, you always see people on social media, like I'm making 12 grand a day working 3 hours. And I think it actually turned out to be the opposite. I think it just gives you more capacity for more workload, but it's so exciting. Like just a great example. I'm working with a local med spa right now. Hadn't had much traction, just relocated. Was a little, I wouldn't say resistant to marketing, but she just didn't really have the time or capacity to film and stuff like that. She has a full-time job, and we set up like 4 automations in the past month, and she's made more in the past month than she made in the past 2 years combined. So I think there's a lot of validation in seeing people that are resistant to it once they come around and seeing how it actually works, and how it could change their business and their life.
I don't think people understand the value of it until it's in their business. Do you know what I mean? Like what you were saying earlier about your, the 5-step process before they actually speak to you. Imagine before that, someone would have had to have been speaking to them through that whole step.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So if you're running a small to medium business and you're, answering calls, delivering, plus trying to do outreach to book more people, all of these things, if that can be automated and you just do on the delivery side of it, or whatever your expertise are, like you're cutting out 3 other jobs that you might be doing or that you might have hired to do that job.
Well, one of the discovery things I like the most when I work with a company is the first thing I ask them. I don't even ask them their bottleneck, because I don't think most business owners know their bottleneck, to be honest with you. I ask them, what's the part of your job you hate the most? Do you hate answering emails? Do you hate following up? Do you hate booking appointments over the phone? Like, what is the one part of your business that if you didn't have to do to remain successful? And almost always it's client attrition and retention, right? Like in a service-based business, you just want the person to show up and sit in your chair and be like, I'm ready to buy. You don't, and I've taken so many sales and psychology marketing courses over my career and just self-exploration. And the truth is it takes 5 to 7 touch points to close a sale, right? And I have worked in so many different industries, and that average remains the same no matter what you are selling. So if I'm touching you 5 times before I'm actually even talking to you, I'm 80% at the sale, where before you were starting at 0%. And how many people fall through the cracks in that process where, I forgot to follow up with Jim. I didn't call Tony back. It's been 3 weeks now. It would be strange if I sent a follow-up email. So I think having that touch point, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it grows as people realize that a lot of the communication is AI and businesses going back and forth. I think it'll be interesting to see if some resistance comes from the customer standpoint. But for now, most of them don't realize, and the ones that do are not bothered by it. They understand AI. So they're like, that's great. Yeah, I think they almost look at you as a more professional business owner because you have those systems set up.
That's when your emails like an SDR would. I feel like because it's more professional and it doesn't have that tendency to say things that might not come across to the customer as 100% on brand professional. I feel like they either think this is just somebody who's really, really good at their job, or do you know what I mean? And I feel like that sometimes at the minute it's given them the thought of like, I feel special that this is happening, but eventually it could change, do you know what I mean? And the way they speak, it could change to the way, like when you're speaking to an automated, like when you're trying to get through to like your phone company or something like that, and you get frustrated because you don't want to speak to a human. I don't know. It could eventually get like that, but I feel like especially with emails, phones, not so sure, but with emails especially, it's a lot less. There's a lot less friction to reply back to an email than being on the phone to one.
Yeah, I always deter to email or SMS before I even consider a phone agent, because I completely agree with that. I think people could sniff it a lot better when it's on the phone, and they get a little bit more frustrated quicker.
Yeah, but then again, that's where it's projected to go, isn't it? To have like AI receptionists AI SDR phone. I've seen them as well. The SDR books the call on the phone. But I will say this though, they're a lot better than, like before when the automated ones were coming in, they were very more robotic.
They were very choppy in their language too. It'd be like, now press 9, 2. Like there's like a pause.
Yeah. And they weren't conversational. So if you said, no, I can't do this, for example, then I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes as well, because you can only go A or B. Mm-hmm. And if you need to go C, then it's saying no, A or B.
Right.
Whereas I feel like that is a lot where a lot of the frustration would come from as well. Whereas the AI voice agents, SDRs that I've seen, they're a lot more conversational. They're a lot more like they can go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. You can go either loads of different ways, and it will be able to handle the calls.
Yes.
It could not go that way, and it could actually be eventually better for people. They might find it easier, but who knows at the moment. So, Rose, walk me through your client acquisition process. So how do you get clients to sign on?
So it always starts with some sort of ad. Most of the past 5 years, I would say it's been like 90% meta ads. I am trying to walk away from that a little bit. A lot of change on that platform, and I don't know if it's necessarily been for good. But so start with an ad, goes to CRM. Personally, I like to use Go High Level, but I've used tons of different ones depending on whatever my clients use on their specific cases. But for myself, add to Go High Level. Go High Level triggers the automations in N8N, so they get an immediate they get an email within an hour of filling out the ad. Thank you so much for inquiring. Then the email will actually give them SMS or email preference. So would you like us to reach out to you via text or via email? They select that. From there, it will send them a calendar invite to meet with us. It'll give them a reminder 1 day before and 1 hour before that the meeting is coming. That, interestingly, I would have about, I would say 20% no-shows to meetings on ads that people replied to prior. I very, very rarely get a no-show at this point because just that, it's like a doctor, right? Like you get the text the day before, you're like, oh my God, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. I totally forgot. Like the reminder point. So I used to handle all of the inbound client leads. I'm at a point now where I don't really, I have an assistant that handles most of the introduction calls. And then if they want to move forward, then from there. So I'm really step 5 in their process. I have been strategizing some other ways to do it, but we don't take on a tremendous amount of new clients every quarter. We set a goal, and once we hit the goal, very rarely will we take on excess. It just keeps it manageable. I always say, like, running automations for a company is extremely simple. Onboarding is not. So those first 30 to 90 days require like a lot of nurturing, a lot of back and forth. You have to work around their schedules. Like service-based businesses are odd. I worked with a tow truck company that only worked from midnight till 7 a.m. Like you have to kind of be like, at different times and ready to go. So I set a goal and we don't really exceed that, quarter to quarter. If in month 3 of the quarter, we're like, hey, we got a little extra time, we'll turn the ad back on. But what I tend to do is it's 60 days on, 30 days off on all of our advertisings just so we could focus. And then, I'm involved in so many other projects outside of this, so it just keeps it scalable and manageable for me. But I'm at the point, as of September, I'm at the point where I have a pretty healthy wait list that we've kind of paused on advertising for right now because between referrals and just past people we've talked to that are like ready to jump the gun now, the wait list is pretty heavy that it's just not worth advertising for right now.
That's a good position. It's a good problem to have.
Yes, it is. It is. I remember running ads and getting no responses for marketing in 2020, so it's different.
Yeah, no, definitely. And having the automations like that, it just makes everything so much smoother going through it. How many times do you have to test lots of different ads, or do you sort of run your flagship ad that's continuously running, or do you test a lot?
To be honest, I can never sit on my hands. That's one of my own problems. So I'm constantly testing new things. I do have a tried and true one that I'll go back to if anything else is looking low. But it's funny. I notice on Meta, and I've had so many conversations because I don't run ads for other companies whatsoever. I refer them out to a partner company that doesn't handle marketing. So we just kind of they'll pass people to me, I'll pass people to them. I feel like when you do ads, it doesn't give you capacity to do anything else because it's so fast and it's constant. So it's not my personal thing for clients, but I find that the better the ad, the worse it performs. So I'll tell clients, I'm like, make a note in your notes app and run it as an ad. Like as simple, and like you don't need the perfect content, the perfect video. It doesn't perform. It's like bold text, some sort of guarantee. I think where we're at in advertising is the post ad process actually matters so much more than the ad itself. So like, do you have the lead form set up? Is it going to a CRM from there? Is there an automation sent from there? Or else you're just sitting on a spreadsheet of leads from Meta, and like the follow-up gets really sticky. The email's incorrect. The name is incorrect. So yeah, I think the post ad process actually matters more than the ad, but I do have one that is literally like a black ad with white font. And that's the one that does the best when I do have to go back to it.
Yeah, I feel like there's consumers are exposed to so many different ads. Do you know what I mean? There's so many different polished ads that sometimes ads like that are a little bit more basic and they can relate to it a little bit more, so it cuts through the noise. It kind of resets it.
It does, yeah.
I haven't seen that today.
Exactly, yeah. Everything is so visually appealing. It's almost like if you could make it unvisually appealing, it's a benefit at this point.
No, I find the same with email lead gen as well. Sometimes you have to them be super just normal, like in person, you know what I mean, like very chill,
yes,
very
yes.
relaxed, you know what I mean, like as if you're writing a text.
Yes,
because they see emails all day and they're very things like that. Sometimes it's just like, hey, do you want to do this? And it cuts through the noise and it gets a better rate. And also from the ads is I've seen lots of this of flooding the post ad pre-call experience. Like it works so well because it does. It stops people from not showing up because they're more invested in it as well.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're more invested in it and they're like, my brain is saying I'm having a good experience. This company cares about how I'm feeling during these points of no contact.
Yes.
So last two questions. Where do you want to be in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of business?
Ooh, that's a good one. I would like to be in a place where we're no longer obtaining new clients, where we're just scaling the ones that we have. Like I said prior, I love watching the 0 to 100 of getting someone set up on automations and stuff, but it's a really time-consuming process to start from 0 with people. And we've seen so much success in the past 12 months of taking those people from 0 to 100. So I think in the future, I would like it to be kind of course, we'd always be taking on new clients, but kind of more of an 80-20 split of where we're scaling 80% of our clients month over month or quarter over quarter, and then the other 20 off. I've stepped back a little bit personally in the past few weeks to focus on more content related things. I'm doing this professor of AI thing on a platform where I'm creating AI series and modules for companies and for people who want to learn AI to buy. So I definitely want to focus more on that kind of stuff than actually client work. But I fully believe you can't teach unless you're doing. So I think it has to stay to a certain capacity where I maintain my involvement. But I would really like to get more into the teaching of it to other people more so than just running my agencies.
Definitely, and the capacity to scale, like what you say, then building modules like courses type of thing to sell that to a client, because you can only take on so many clients,
right,
in dual marketing and thing. But if you can create something digital that can sell to lots of different ones, then there's no end to how much you could sell of that. So the upside potential
exactly
is much bigger.
Exactly.
And I feel like a lot of clients, it was a bit like this I think before, when social media was it was really big. People were selling things to teach you how to be a digital marketer,
yep,
teach you how to run your social media. So I feel like it's kind of a trend that's coming back through the
I was just saying this with the owner of Fortitude. I just said the same thing. I said in like 20 to 22 everyone was selling digital marketing courses, and I think going into 26 we'll see a lot more AI courses being sold, and that's going to be the next sort of wave of like MRR.
No, definitely. And I feel like there's perceived value in AI as well, where because it's not even though social media it's not easy or taught by any means, but it's a little bit easier to get your head around, whereas AI, if you don't know, it can be very how this works. So like, I need a course.
Yes.
I feel like it could be very advantageous.
Absolutely.
So my last question, Rose, if you could wave a magic wand and fix one bottleneck in your business, what would it be and why?
I would say, I guess client attrition. It's just, no matter what, it's the biggest time, holder in my business right now. And I've trained so many salespeople and they do great. And then they go on and start their own agencies and stuff like that. And I'm always happy for that. Like that, I'm never going to be the person that's like, no, you got to stay here. But it's hard to train and develop on the inside, train and develop on the outside, and keep the system flowing, because there's kind of like always a piece that falls off a little bit. So I would say, yeah, being able to get a healthy enough team where they're the ones in the field selling, and make it valuable to them too, right? Like, which is a huge focus on me selling, AI courses and doing stuff like that, because that income could help me build a stronger and implement a better, sales process and sales team. Because I think I've definitely hit the capacity of how much more work I can take on. I mean, I, on average, work 8 to 11 hours a day. I have 2 young kids, so it's at very weird hours sometimes. Like, I pick them up, I come back, I work till midnight, I wake up at 4 before they wake up. So I think just to get some of that time back and be able to train and develop other people to do the same would be my biggest bottleneck right now.
Getting your time back after putting in so much learning and
yes,
to building these things, but also learning new skills too. I mean, you're one of the first founders I've spoke to that's really got in the trenches with AI, that knows how to build end-to-end workflows, Zapier workflows. See a lot of people hire somebody in AI and then they just, or in their head, they're just like, oh, I've got someone who knows everything about it, but you've actually gone out and done the work yourself, so you really know what's going on in the field, as opposed to, because I've spoken to some people and they're like, no, I already do everything AI, but they couldn't explain to me what they're doing in AI.
yeah.
So with you, you've been able to go into exact depth of what automations and what's triggering this and things like that. So definitely well done, and you've definitely paid your dues to be able to buy some of that time back.
Yes. Absolutely. Well, it's funny because like I have a marketing background, but my husband studied, computer information systems. He's doing his master's now. So I wouldn't say I was a data person by any means, like 7 to 8 years ago. But when I started wanting to learn this, it was kind of like I had like an in-house, person to help me out and be like, hey, like, what does this mean? Or how does this work? So my husband, like, he's a corporate employee. He loves his corporate job. He likes what he does, but he fills the voids for me and helps me learn and develop too on the outside, which is also extremely helpful. A lot of people that are doing this don't have, a person or a partner to call back on and figure out what they're missing.
I think having a partner that supports you in life but also supports you in your business is indispensable. I think
it is
invaluable, so valuable.
It is.
Rose, thank you so much for coming on. That's the end of the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for sharing such insights into both companies as well. Where can my viewers and listeners find you, reach out to you across different platforms and websites?
Yeah, so my website is www.jordanmediamarketing.com. It's a lot more focused on content stuff than it is on AI at the moment, but you could always find me there, fill out inquiry there. TikTok is where I post most of my content and where I engage the most, so at @RoseJordan_. And then anyone looking for any sort of AI course or an AI course specific to, starting or implementing or learning how to build your own tech stacks, Flare, PHLARE. I teach courses on there. I have quite a few coming out before the end of the year, but the really AI 101, how to build your own workflow basics, is going to be launching next week. So I'm super excited to get that on the platform. And then as well, you could also book office hours with me on Flare. So you could book an hour or two where I could help you go over and learn on your own. And I just think it's more valuable because, like you said, you could hire anyone to do it and you don't know how long they're going to stay or go. But if you can learn it on your own as a business owner, it's not rocket science. I know a lot of people think it is, but it's really just sitting down and taking the time. So this first course will be AI implementation for service-based business. We'll teach you how to build an workflow from start to finish, how to run it with advertising. And it's broken down into modules, so it's easy to learn. It's easy to kind of take your time and go through. So Flare, PHLARE, and then just search Rose Jordan in the box and the courses will come up there.
Well, there you have it, everybody who wanting to learn a new skill this year. I would recommend going over to Rose's Flare account and to learn AI, and even if it's not that, but just learn it, because
And there's some
a skill that's indispensable.
there's some other fantastic courses on there. I've taken some from other creators and learned things, that I didn't particularly know either. So anyone that's interested in learning, I highly recommend checking out that platform.
Rose, thank you for sharing everything, and I wish you all the best for your business, and I hope you have a really good weekend.
Thank you. You as well, Stefan.
Everybody like, comment, and subscribe, and share to a friend, please.